Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the stars through the large window. The UES Defiance had been flying through space for 3 months now, looking for new worlds where humans could build homes. Jake was tired, but happy. This was what he loved doing most. "Captain, we're getting close to the 3rd planet in this system," said Lieutenant Carol Fisher from her seat at the controls. "The readings look good. Lots of water and the right temperature for people to live there." Jake nodded and walked over to look at her screen. The planet looked blue and green, just like Earth, but smaller. "Take us into orbit, Carol. Let's get a better look at this place." The ship moved closer to the planet. Jake could see white clouds moving across the surface. There were big oceans and what looked like forests. It would make a perfect new home for humans who wanted to leave the crowded cities of Earth. "Sir, I'm picking up something strange," said Officer Pete Davis from the communications station. His voice sounded worried. "There are ships coming toward us. Big ones." Jake turned around quickly. "How many ships, Pete?" "I count 12, sir. But they're huge. Much bigger than anything we have back home." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. The Defiance was alone out here, far from any help. If these ships wanted to hurt them, there was nowhere to run. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The window in front of them changed to show space ahead of their ship. Jake saw 12 massive ships moving toward them. Each one was at least 10 times bigger than the Defiance. They were dark gray with strange shapes that didn't look like any human design. "Captain, they're sending us a message," so Pete said. "Should I put it through?" "Yes, do it." The screen changed again. This time it showed the inside of one of the alien ships. Jake saw a creature that looked like a giant lizard standing upright. It had yellow eyes and sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was deep and scary. "I am Admiral Kextar of the Zephyrian Hegemony," the creature said. "You will identify yourselves immediately." Jake stepped forward. He tried to keep his voice steady. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Defiance. We are explorers from the planet Earth." The alien's eyes grew wider. "Earth, we have heard of your world. You are the species that calls itself human." "That's right," Jake said. "We're peaceful explorers looking for new worlds to settle." Admiral Kextar made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like a growl. "Peaceful? How interesting. Human, I have a message for your leaders. You will take this message back to your Earth immediately." "What message?" Jake asked. The alien's face became very serious. "The Zephyrian Hegemony has ruled this galaxy for 2,000 years. We control 10,000 worlds and countless species. Your Earth has been noticed by our empire." Jake waited. He didn't like where this was going. "Your people have 30 of your Earth days to surrender completely." Admiral Kextar continued. "You will destroy all your weapons. You will accept our rule. You will do exactly what we tell you to do. If you refuse, we will destroy every human in the galaxy." "You can't be serious," Jake said. "We've never done anything to hurt you." "It does not matter," the alien replied. "All species must bow to the hegemony. Your choice is simple: surrender or die." The screen went black. Jake stood there for a moment, trying to understand what had just happened. The alien ships were still out there waiting. "Captain, what do we do?" Carol asked quietly. "We go home," Jake said. "Right now." The trip back to Earth took 2 days. Jake spent most of that time thinking about the aliens' message. He had seen the size of their ships. If they had 10,000 worlds, Earth didn't stand a chance in a fight. When they reached Earth, Jake went straight to the government building in New Geneva. He was taken to see President Lisa Rodriguez immediately. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Captain Morrison," she said, "I understand you have an urgent message for us." Jake told her everything. About the alien ships, about Admiral Kextar, about the 30-day deadline. President Rodriguez listened without saying a word. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "Captain, are you absolutely sure about what you heard?" "Yes, ma'am. They want us to surrender everything, or they'll kill us, all." President Rodriguez pressed a button on her desk. "Get me General Connor Hayes and Dr. Amy Chen. Emergency meeting in 10 minutes. Within an hour, the room was full of important people. General Hayes was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. Dr. Chen was young and wore thick glasses. They all listened as Jake repeated his story. "How many ships did you see?" General Hayes asked. 12, sir. But they said they control 10,000 worlds. "That's impossible," said Dr. Chen. "No empire could be that big." "The ships were real," Jake insisted. "I saw them with my own eyes." General Hayes shook his head. "Even if we used every ship we have, we couldn't fight an empire like that." "Maybe we should try to negotiate," suggested Peter Walsh, the chief diplomat. "Perhaps we can work out some kind of deal." "What kind of deal?" President Rodriguez asked. "They want complete surrender. Better to be alive as slaves than dead." "As free people," Walsh replied. General Hayes stood up angrily. "I'd rather die fighting than live on my knees." "That's easy for you to say," Walsh shot back. "You're not thinking about the billions of innocent people who will die." Dr. Chen had been quiet during the argument. Now she spoke up. "Maybe we have another option." Everyone turned to look at her. "What do you mean?" President Rodriguez asked. "My team has been working on some new weapons, theoretical stuff, but if it works, it could change everything." "What kind of weapons?" General Hayes demanded. "I can't explain it in simple terms," Dr. Chen said, "but we might be able to fight back even against impossible odds." President Rodriguez looked around the room. "How long do we have to decide?" Jake checked his watch. 27 days, ma'am." "Then we'd better start making some hard choices," the president said. "The fate of humanity depends on what we decide in the next few weeks." Jake left the meeting feeling scared but also proud. Earth might be small compared to a galactic empire, but humans had never been good at giving up without a fight. Whatever happened next, it was going to change everything. 3 days after Captain Morrison returned with the alien message, President Rodriguez stood in front of cameras that would broadcast her words to every human in the galaxy. She had not slept much in those 3 days. The weight of deciding humanity's future pressed down on her shoulders like a mountain. Behind the cameras, her advisors waited. General Hayes stood with his arms crossed, his face grim. Dr. Chen held a small device in her hands, turning it over and over. Peter Walsh, the diplomat, looked pale and nervous. "My fellow humans," President Rodriguez began, looking directly into the camera. 3 days ago, we received a message from an alien empire called the Zephyrian Hegemony. They have given us an ultimatum. Surrender everything we are and everything we believe in, or face total destruction. She paused, letting her words sink in. Across Earth, people stopped what they were doing to listen. On the space stations orbiting the planet, workers put down their tools. In the colonies on Mars and the Moon, families gathered around their screens. I have spent these last 3 days meeting with our best military leaders, our greatest scientists, and our wisest diplomats, the president continued. We have studied every option. We have considered every possibility. And now, I speak for all of humanity when I give our answer. President Rodriguez straightened her shoulders. We were born free among the stars. Our ancestors fought for freedom on Earth. They died for it. They passed that freedom down to us like a sacred trust. We will not break that trust now. Her voice grew stronger. To the Zephyrian hegemony we say this. Humanity rejects your ultimatum. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. If you want to destroy us, you will have to try. But know this, we will not make it easy for you. The broadcast ended. Within hours, the response came from human colonies across known space. The mining stations near Proxima Centauri sent a message saying they would fight. The farming colonies on Kepler 442b pledged their support. Even the smallest outposts in distant systems declared they would stand with Earth. While the president spoke to the galaxy, Dr. Chen worked in her laboratory deep underground. Her team had been working without sleep for days, trying to complete their secret project. The laboratory was filled with machines that hummed and glowed with strange lights. "Amy, are you sure this will work?" asked her assistant, Rick Torres. He was a young engineer who had joined her team just 6 months ago. His hands shook as he held the components they were building. "I'm not sure of anything, Rick," Dr. Chen replied honestly. "But the theory is sound. If we can destabilize the quantum field that holds atoms together, we can release more energy than a nuclear bomb." Helen Clark, the team's physicist, looked up from her calculations. "The problem is control. If we make a mistake, we could destroy ourselves instead of the enemy." "We don't have a choice," Dr. Chen said. "General Hayes showed me the numbers. Even if every human ship attacked together, we couldn't scratch their main fleet. This is our only chance." The weapons they were building looked simple. Each one was about the size of a suitcase, with smooth metal sides and a small control panel. But inside each device was technology that could turn an entire planet into a cloud of energy. While Dr. Chen's team worked on weapons, Commander Danny Park prepared for a different kind of mission. He was a small, quiet man who had spent most of his career on reconnaissance missions. His ship, the UES Shadow, was designed to be invisible to enemy sensors. "Danny, this is the most dangerous mission we've ever attempted," Admiral Kate Sullivan told him as he prepared to leave. "You'll be completely alone in enemy territory. If they catch you, there's nothing we can do to help." "I understand, ma'am," Danny replied. "But we need to know where their important worlds are. We can't fight what we can't find." The Shadow left Earth's orbit quietly, slipping past the outer planets like a ghost. Danny's mission was to map Zephyrian space and find their key worlds. The information would be crucial if humanity decided to take the fight to the enemy. Back on Earth, General Hayes was turning the entire planet into a giant war factory. Every shipyard worked day and night building new vessels. Old cargo ships were converted into warships. Civilian transports were armed with weapons. "We need every ship we can get," he told his staff during a planning meeting. "I don't care if it's a luxury yacht or a garbage hauler. If it can fly and carry a weapon, we'll use it." The general's assistant, Colonel Linda Gray, raised her hand. "Sir, what about the civilians? Shouldn't we evacuate them to the outer colonies?" "Where would they go?" General Hayes asked. "If we lose this fight, nowhere in human space will be safe. Our only choice is to win." Across Earth, ordinary people volunteered to help the war effort. Farmers worked their fields harder to feed the growing military. Factory workers stayed at their jobs for 16 hours a day making weapons and supplies. Even children collected scrap metal that could be used to build ships. Maria Santos was one of thousands of volunteers who stepped forward for the most dangerous job of all. She was a language expert who had studied alien cultures for years. Now she volunteered to go deep into enemy territory as a spy. "You understand the risks?" General Hayes told the volunteers during their briefing. "You'll be living among aliens who want to destroy us. If you're caught, we can't help you. You'll be completely on your own." Maria nodded along with the others. "We understand, sir. Someone has to gather intelligence from inside their empire. Your job is to blend in with alien populations and wait for orders," the general explained. "When the time comes, you'll help our forces attack their worlds from within." Ben Travis, another volunteer, asked the question they were all thinking. "What if we can't stop them, sir? What if they're too strong?" General Hayes was quiet for a moment. "Then we make them pay such a price for victory that they'll never threaten another free species again." As the days passed, the deadline grew closer. 24 days, 20, 15. The aliens sent no more messages. They simply waited at the edge of human space, their massive fleet growing larger as more ships arrived. President Rodriguez barely slept. She spent her time visiting military bases, talking to scientists, and meeting with colony leaders. Everywhere she went, the message was the same: humanity would not surrender. "Are we making the right choice?" she asked Dr. Chen during one late-night meeting. "I don't know," the scientist replied. "But I know we're making the human choice. We've never been good at giving up." With 10 days left before the deadline, Commander Park's ship returned from its mission deep in alien space. He had traveled farther into enemy territory than any human before him. The information he brought back was both terrifying and hopeful. "Their empire is huge," he reported to the military leaders. "Thousands of worlds, billions of people. but they're spread thin. Most of their military is concentrated in a few key systems. He showed them a map of Zephyrian space marked with important targets. If we could hit their main worlds, we might cause enough chaos to level the playing field. Admiral Sullivan studied the map. It would mean taking the war to them, instead of waiting for them to attack us. Exactly, Danny said. They expect us to defend Earth and our colonies. They won't expect us to attack their home worlds. General Hayes smiled for the first time in weeks. I like it. Instead of fighting their invasion, we take the fight to them. It's incredibly risky, warned Peter Walsh. If we attack their civilians, we become no better than they are. They threaten to destroy every human in the galaxy, President Rodriguez reminded him. They drew the lines of this war, not us. 5 days before the deadline, Dr. Chen's team completed their first quantum weapons. The devices were loaded onto fast ships and distributed to key locations throughout human space. Earth's most experienced captains volunteered to carry the weapons, knowing they might not survive their missions. Captain Joe Martinez was one of those volunteers. He had been flying for Earth's military for 20 years. His ship, the UES Striker, was old but reliable. You sure about this, Joe? His wife asked him the night before he left. Someone has to do it, Sarah, he replied. If these weapons work, we might actually have a chance. 3 days before the deadline, humanity was as ready as it could be. The fleet was assembled, the weapons were distributed, the spies were in position deep in enemy space. All they could do now was wait. President Rodriguez made one final broadcast to the human colonies. In 3 days we will have our answer, she said. Whatever happens, remember this. We chose to face our fate as free people. That choice alone makes us victorious. No matter what comes next, the countdown continued. 2 days. 1 day. Then, finally, the deadline arrived. At the edge of the solar system, the alien fleet began to move toward Earth. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. The alien fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly 30 days after their ultimatum. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of his ship as the enemy vessels emerged from hyperspace, like dark clouds blocking out the stars. He counted them as they appeared. 100, 500, 1,000. The numbers kept climbing until he stopped counting. My God, whispered Lieutenant Carol Fisher. There are so many of them. Jake had seen 12 alien ships before, and thought they were huge. Now he saw what a real invasion fleet looked like. Over 10,000 ships stretched across space, each one bigger than Earth's largest battleship. At the center of the formation was a vessel so massive it looked like a small moon. Admiral Kextar's voice filled the communication channels throughout the solar system. Humans of Earth, your time has ended. This is your final chance to surrender. Submit now, and some of you may be allowed to live as slaves. President Rodriguez answered from her command center deep beneath the Earth's surface. Admiral Kextar, humanity gives you our final answer. Go to hell. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth. They came slowly, confidently, like hunters who knew their prey had nowhere to run. But they didn't know about the human ships hiding behind asteroids, moons, and space stations throughout the system. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded the human fleet from her flagship, the UES Titan. She had every available ship under her command. Military vessels, converted cargo ships, mining vessels with hastily mounted weapons, even luxury yachts carrying missiles. It wasn't much compared to the alien armada, but it was everything humanity had. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan, she broadcast on the command frequency. Today we fight not just for Earth but for the right of all free people to exist in this galaxy. Make every shot count. The first shots came from the human side. Long-range missiles launched from hidden positions throughout the solar system. They streaked toward the alien fleet like deadly fireworks. Most were shot down by alien defenses, but some got through. Explosions bloomed against the hulls of enemy ships. The aliens responded with devastating firepower. Energy beams that could melt asteroids swept through space. Human ships exploded into brilliant flowers of light. The battle for Earth had begun. Captain Joe Martinez piloted his ship, the UES Striker, through the chaos of battle. His mission was different from the others. Hidden in his cargo hold was one of Dr. Chen's quantum weapons. He had to get close, enough to the enemy fleet to use it. "Captain, we've got 3 alien fighters coming at us," his gunner reported. "I see them," Joe replied, pushing his ship into a sharp turn. The Striker was old but fast. The alien fighters were bigger and more powerful, but Joe had been flying for 20 years. He knew every trick. One of the enemy ships fired an energy beam that barely missed the Striker's hull. Joe rolled his ship and fired back with his plasma cannons. The shots hit the alien fighter's wing, sending it spinning out of control. "Nice shooting, Captain," his gunner said. "Save the celebration," Joe replied. "We've got work to do." Meanwhile, the main fleets clashed in the space between Mars and Jupiter. The UES Titan exchanged massive volleys with alien dreadnoughts. Admiral Sullivan watched as enemy fire punched holes through her ship's armor. "Damage report," she called out. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, came the reply. "We're venting atmosphere." "Seal those breaches and keep fighting," Sullivan ordered. The battle seemed hopeless. For every alien ship destroyed, humans lost 10. The enemy had too many ships, too much firepower. But the humans kept fighting anyway. Captain Linda Gray commanded a destroyer called the UES Lightning. She saw a transport ship full of civilian evacuees under attack by alien cruisers. The transport had no weapons and couldn't fight back. "All power to engines," she ordered her crew. "We're going to ram that cruiser." "Captain, that's suicide," her first officer protested. "Maybe," Linda replied. "But those people on that transport deserve a chance to live." The Lightning accelerated toward the alien cruiser at full speed. Enemy fire tore through her ship's hull, but she kept going. At the last second, she managed to fire her remaining missiles into the cruiser's reactor. Both ships exploded in a massive ball of light. The transport escaped. As the battle raged, Dr. Chen watched from her command post on Earth. Her quantum weapons were humanity's secret advantage, but they had to be used at exactly the right moment. "The fleet is taking heavy losses," General Hayes reported. "We need to use the weapons now." "Not yet," Dr. Chen replied. "We need the aliens bunched together for maximum effect." Captain Martinez finally reached his target zone. Enemy ships surrounded him on all sides. It was the perfect moment to deploy the quantum weapon. He activated the device and launched it toward the center of the alien formation. "Quantum weapon away," he reported. "All ships, get clear of the target zone." The weapon flew through space, like a small metal box. It didn't look dangerous. The aliens ignored it, thinking it was just debris from a destroyed ship. They had no idea what was about to happen. Dr. Chen watched the weapon's progress on her screens. "Detonation in 10 seconds, she announced to the fleet. The quantum weapon exploded in a flash of light brighter than the sun. But this wasn't a normal explosion. The device tore apart the very structure of space itself. Everything within 10,000 kilometers simply ceased to exist. Dozens of alien ships vanished instantly, turned into pure energy. The remaining alien fleet stopped advancing. Admiral Kekstar's voice filled the communication channels, but now he sounded different. Scared. "What weapon was that?" he demanded. "What did you do?" "We gave you our answer," Admiral Sullivan replied. "Did you think humans would go quietly into the night?" Captain Martinez didn't survive to see the effect of his weapon. His ship was destroyed by enemy fire just seconds after he launched the quantum device. But his sacrifice had shown the aliens that humans possessed technology they had never seen before. Dr. Chen activated 3 more quantum weapons throughout the solar system. Each explosion consumed dozens of enemy ships. The alien formation, which had seemed unstoppable minutes before, was now broken and confused. "They're retreating," reported the sensor operator on the Titan. Admiral Sullivan couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Confirm that report." "Confirmed, Admiral. The alien fleet is pulling back to the outer system." But the victory celebration was brief. Admiral Kekstar sent another message to Earth. "You have weapons we did not expect," he admitted. "But you have only delayed your destruction. The hegemony has ruled this galaxy for 2,000 years. We control 10,000 worlds and countless fleets. What you have seen today is only a small part of our power. President Rodriguez listened to the alien's words from her bunker. What are you saying, Admiral? I am saying that reinforcements are coming, Kextar replied. Within one of your months, 100 fleets will arrive at your world. You may have won this battle, but you cannot win the war. The alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the solar system quiet except for the wreckage of destroyed ships. Human and alien debris drifted together in the darkness. Admiral Sullivan surveyed the damage to her fleet. Over half her ships were destroyed or badly damaged. Thousands of brave people had died in the battle. But they had proven something important. Humans could fight back. Dr. Chen was already planning the next phase of the war. We can't wait for them to bring those reinforcements, she told President Rodriguez. We need to take the fight to them. What do you mean? The president asked. Commander Park's intelligence showed us where their important worlds are, Dr. Chen explained. Instead of waiting for them to attack us again, we attack them first. General Hayes nodded. Hit them where they don't expect it. Make them defend their own worlds instead of attacking ours. President Rodriguez thought about what they were suggesting. It would mean taking human ships deep into enemy space, far from any help. Many would not return, but it might be humanity's only chance. How many quantum weapons do we have left? She asked. Enough to destroy a dozen worlds, Dr. Chen replied quietly. The room fell silent as everyone understood what she meant. They were talking about destroying entire planets, killing billions of alien civilians. It was a terrible thing to consider. They threatened to kill every human in the galaxy, General Hayes reminded them. They started this war. Are we really going to become planet killers? Asked Peter Walsh. President Rodriguez closed her eyes and thought about the alien ultimatum. Surrender or face total destruction. The choice was simple, even if it was horrible. Prepare. The weapons, she ordered. If they want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. In the depths of space, human agents who had been placed in alien territory months ago received coded messages. Maria Santos, working on a Zephyrian mining world, read her orders and began preparing for her mission. Ben Travis, living among aliens, on a trading station, started gathering intelligence about local defenses. The first battle was over, but the real war was just beginning. Humanity had chosen to fight, and now they would show the galaxy what that choice meant. 2 weeks after the battle for Earth, Admiral Kextar sat in his command ship at the edge of Zephyrian space. He was waiting for reinforcements from across the hegemony. 100 fleets were coming to help him destroy the humans once and for all. He expected the humans to spend this time building defenses around their homeworld. He was wrong. The first sign that humans thought differently about war came when Captain Linda Gray's ship, the UES Vengeance, appeared in orbit around Zelthara Prime. Zelthara was a peaceful world with 2 billion Zephyrian civilians. It had not seen war in over 1,000 years. This is Captain Gray of the human fleet, she broadcast to the planet below. You have 1 hour to evacuate your major cities. After that, we will demonstrate what happens to species that threaten human children. The Zephyrian planetary governor couldn't believe what he was hearing. You cannot be serious. We are civilians. We have done nothing to harm your people. Your government demanded that every human in the galaxy be destroyed, Captain Gray replied coldly. That includes our children. We are simply returning the favor. The governor tried to contact Admiral Kextar, but there was no time. Human ships spread across the system, their weapons pointed at the planet. At exactly 1 hour, Captain Gray gave the order. Fire quantum weapons. 3 devices fell toward Zelthara Prime like silver rain. When they exploded, the planet's 3 largest cities simply vanished. Mountains melted. Oceans boiled. Where millions of people had lived for centuries, there was now only glowing craters that could be seen from space. Captain Gray sent one final message to the surviving population. Tell your hegemony that humanity has just begun to fight. The news of Zelthara's destruction spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Species that had lived under Zephyrian rule for generations couldn't believe what they were hearing. A small upstart race had dared to attack a core hegemony world. President Rodriguez received reports of the attack in her command center on Earth. "How many casualties?" she asked quietly. "Approximately 15 million dead," General Hayes reported. The rest of the population evacuated to the countryside. Peter Walsh, the diplomat, looked sick. "We just killed 15 million innocent people." "They weren't innocent," Dr. Chen replied sharply. "Every one of them supported a government that wanted to commit genocide against humanity." "That doesn't make it right," Walsh protested. President Rodriguez held up her hand for silence. "What's done is done. Are our other strike teams in position?" "Yes, ma'am," General Hayes confirmed. 20 ships carrying quantum weapons are now deployed throughout Zephyrian space. Admiral Kextar finally received word of Zelthar's fate while meeting with other hegemony commanders. The holographic image of the burning planet appeared before them, showing the massive craters where cities used to be. "This is impossible," said Admiral Threshnach, commander of the Third Fleet. "No species has ever dared attack a core world." "The humans are clearly insane," added General Vexmore from his fortress world. "We must crush them immediately." Admiral Kextar studied the images more carefully. "They are not insane. They are showing us that they do not think like other species. Most races would defend their homeworld and try to negotiate. Instead, they attack ours." He sent an urgent message across hyperspace to the human fleet. "President Rodriguez, I am prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict." The reply came back within hours. It was not from President Rodriguez. Instead, Dr. Chen's face appeared on his screen. "Admiral Kextar, I am Dr. Amy Chen, military advisor to the human government. President Rodriguez asked me to respond to your offer." "Dr. Chen, surely we can find a reasonable solution to this conflict," the Admiral began. Dr. Chen's expression was ice cold. "You demanded we kneel. Instead, we will watch your empire burn until nothing remains but ashes and the memory of your arrogance. There will be no negotiations." The transmission ended. Admiral Kextar realized with growing horror that the humans had no interest in stopping their attacks. They intended to destroy the entire hegemony. Over the next week, human strike forces appeared throughout Zephyrian space like ghosts in the night. The UES Thunder, commanded by Captain Bob Wilson, attacked the industrial world of Nexus 7. The planet's factories had supplied weapons to the hegemony for centuries. After the quantum weapons fell, it became a dead rock floating in space. Commander Danny Park led a raid on the fortress world of Grimhold. The planet was supposed to be unconquerable, protected by massive defense stations and energy shields. The quantum weapons ignored all defenses. The entire planet cracked open like an egg, its molten core spilling into space. Captain Steve Rogers attacked the agricultural world of Harvest Moon. The planet fed dozens of other Zephyrian worlds. When it died, entire systems began to starve. Each attack followed the same pattern. The human ships would appear without warning, give the civilians 1 hour to evacuate major population centers, then destroy the planet with quantum weapons. The hegemony's military couldn't respond fast enough to stop them. Maria Santos, the human agent working undercover on a mining world, received her activation orders. She had been living among the aliens for months, learning their language and customs. Now it was time to complete her mission. She made her way to the planet's main power station. The aliens trusted her because she had been helpful and friendly. They had no idea she was carrying enough explosives to destroy their entire power grid. "I'm sorry," she whispered as she planted the charges, "but you would have done the same to us." The explosion knocked out power to the entire planet. In the darkness that followed, quantum weapons fell from space like falling stars. Another world died. Ben Travis was stationed on a major trading hub near the center of Zephyrian space. His job was to gather intelligence about ship movements and military supplies. But when he received his orders, he became something much more dangerous. He had spent months mapping the station's defenses and learning the routines of the guards. When the time came, he moved through the facility like a shadow, planting quantum charges at key structural points. The trading station had been a center of commerce for 500 years. When Ben's charges exploded, it became an expanding cloud of debris that would warn other species about the price of threatening humanity. As world after world burned, panic spread through the hegemony. Species that had been loyal subjects for generations began to question their rulers. If the mighty Zephyrians couldn't protect their own core worlds, how could they protect anyone else? The Crystalline Confederation was the first to declare independence from the hegemony. Their crystal cities had been under Zephyrian rule for 800 years, but they saw what was happening and decided to take their chances with freedom. The aquatic republics followed soon after. Their water worlds had been peaceful members of the Empire, but their leaders announced they would no longer serve masters who couldn't protect them. Admiral Kextar watched his empire crumble from his command ship. Every day brought news of another world destroyed, another species in revolt. The humans had accomplished in weeks what rebels had tried to do for centuries. "Sir, we're receiving a message from the Hegemony Council," his communications officer reported. The faces of 12 ancient Zephyrians appeared on his screen. They were the rulers of the Empire, beings who had held power for hundreds of years. Now they looked frightened. "Admiral Kextar," spoke Council Leader Zethrim, "you must stop these human attacks immediately." "How?" Kextar replied. "They strike, without warning, and disappear before we can respond. Their weapons can destroy entire planets. We have nothing that can match them." "Then negotiate with them," another council member demanded. "I tried. They refuse to talk. They want to destroy our entire civilization." The council members looked at each other in fear. For 2,000 years, they had been the masters of the galaxy. Now they faced extinction at the hands of a species they had never heard of just months ago. "How many worlds have we lost?" asked Council Leader Zethrim. Admiral Kextar checked his reports. 47 core worlds completely destroyed, 16 others heavily damaged, over 300 billion casualties. The numbers hit the Council like a physical blow. In less than a month, the humans had killed more Zephyrians than had died in the previous 1,000 years of empire. "We underestimated them," Kextar continued. "We thought they would fight like other species, defend their territory and try to minimize losses. Instead, they fight like demons. They would rather burn the entire galaxy than accept defeat." On Earth, President Rodriguez met with her advisors to plan the next phase of the war. Reports came in hourly of successful attacks on hegemony worlds. The alien empire was collapsing faster than anyone had expected. "The other species are starting to rebel," General Hayes reported. 17 different civilizations have declared independence from the hegemony. Their empire is falling apart. "Good," Dr. Chen said. "Maybe now they understand what it means to threaten humanity." "What about their reinforcement fleets?" President Rodriguez asked. "Most have been recalled to defend their own worlds," Admiral Sullivan reported. "They can't afford to attack us when their entire empire is burning." Peter Walsh had been quiet during the meeting, but now he spoke up. "Are we going to stop here? We've made our point." President Rodriguez looked at him with cold eyes. They gave 6 months after the war began, Admiral Danny Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Freedom, and stared at the ancient world before him. Zephyr Prime was the homeworld of the alien empire, a planet that had ruled the galaxy for 2,000 years. Its golden cities had never known the touch of war. Today that would change. "Admiral, we're receiving multiple surrender offers from the planet," his communications officer reported. "They're begging us not to attack." Danny looked at the beautiful world spinning slowly beneath his fleet. Billions of Zephyrians lived on that planet. Most of them had never fired a shot in anger or harmed a human being, but their government had threatened to kill every man, woman, and child in human space. "Any word from Admiral Kextar?" Danny asked. "Yes, sir. He's requesting permission to speak with you directly." The main screen flickered to life, showing the alien admiral who had started this war. Kextar looked older now, his scales dulled, with stress and fear. Behind him, Danny could see other Zephyrian officers, all of them looking defeated. "Admiral Park," Kextar began, his voice tired. I am prepared to surrender unconditionally. The Hegemony Council has authorized me to accept any terms you offer. Danny had been expecting this moment for weeks. Human forces had destroyed over 100 Zephyrian worlds. The alien empire was in ruins. Rebel species controlled huge areas of space that had been under hegemony rule for centuries. What exactly are you offering, Admiral? Danny asked. Complete surrender of all hegemony forces. We will disarm our fleets and turn over our weapons to human authorities. We will accept whatever government you choose to establish. Just please, stop the killing. Danny looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These men and women had lost friends and family in the war. Some had volunteered knowing they would probably die. All of them had a right to see justice done. You're too late, Admiral, Danny said finally. 6 months ago you could have had peace. You chose war instead. Now you get to see how humans fight a war. But we're surrendering, Kextar protested. Surely that must count for something. It counts for exactly what human surrender would have counted for in your plan, Danny replied. Nothing. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare quantum weapons for deployment. Target the major population centers. Admiral Park, please, Kextar begged. There are children down there, innocent families who never wanted this war. Danny paused. The alien was right. There were innocent people on that world, just as there had been innocent people on all the other worlds humanity had destroyed. But the Zephyrians had been willing to kill innocent humans without a second thought. You should have thought about innocent children before you threatened to destroy Earth, Danny said. Quantum weapons away. The devices fell toward Zephyr Prime like silver tears. When they exploded, the capital cities of the galaxy's oldest empire simply ceased to exist. The golden towers that had stood for millennia became glowing craters. The libraries that held the knowledge of ages turned to ash and light. Admiral, Kextar watched his homeworld die from the bridge of his ship. When the explosions faded, over 50 million Zephyrians were dead. The heart of their civilization was gone forever. Why? He whispered, more to himself than to Danny. Why couldn't you just surrender? Danny heard the question through the communication link. Because we're human, he answered simply. We don't kneel. Across the galaxy, the news of Zephyr Prime's destruction spread like wildfire. The impossible had happened. The eternal empire was gone. The species that had ruled the stars since before most civilizations existed had been brought to their knees by a young race that most had never heard of. On Earth, President Rodriguez watched the reports coming in from across human space. The war was over. Humanity had won. But the victory felt hollow as she thought about the billions of lives lost on both sides. The final casualty reports are coming in, General Hayes told her. We lost approximately 2 million humans in the war, military and civilian combined. And the Zephyrians? She asked. Over 500 billion dead, Dr. Chen reported quietly. Entire worlds turned to ash, their empire completely destroyed. The numbers hung in the air like a weight. President Rodriguez had made the choice to fight rather than surrender. That choice had saved humanity from slavery, but it had also led to the deaths of more beings than had ever died in a single war. Are we monsters? She asked her advisors. Peter Walsh, who had argued for negotiation from the beginning, was surprisingly the one who answered. No, ma'am. We're survivors. They gave us a choice between freedom and death. We chose a third option. In the weeks that followed, humanity began the difficult task of rebuilding the galaxy. President Rodriguez established the Terran Federation, but not as an empire like the hegemony had been. Instead, it was offered as a voluntary alliance of free species. The Crystalline Confederation was the first to join, grateful to humans for freeing them from Zephyrian rule. The Aquatic Republic soon followed. Dozens of other species that had been subjects of the Empire asked to become partners with humanity. We offer membership, not conquest, President Rodriguez announced to the galaxy. Any species that wishes to remain independent may do so. Any that wishes to join us as equals will be welcomed. Admiral Danny Park was given the task of establishing order in the former hegemony territories. It was a massive job. Hundreds of worlds needed new governments. Trade routes had to be re-established. The complex system that had held the Empire together for 2 millennia had to be rebuilt from scratch. But there were also species that refused to work with humans. Some alien races saw humanity's victory as proof that violence was the only language the galaxy understood. Pirates and warlords seized territory that had been abandoned by retreating hegemony forces. Captain Jake Morrison, the man who had first encountered the Zephyrians, now commanded a peacekeeping fleet that patrolled the outer territories. His job was to protect the new settlements and trading posts that were springing up in areas that had been closed to free trade for centuries. "It's going to take generations to clean up this mess," he told his crew during one patrol mission. "Maybe," replied Lieutenant Carol Fisher, who had been with him since the beginning. "But at least now people have a choice about their own futures." The surviving Zephyrians were scattered across dozens of refugee camps on worlds that had escaped destruction. Many of them struggled to understand how their mighty empire had fallen so quickly to a species they had considered primitive. Admiral Kextar was held on a prison station orbiting Earth. He spent his days writing reports about the war, trying to understand where his people had gone wrong. Human guards treated him fairly, giving him books to read and allowing him to communicate with other Zephyrian survivors. "Why did you spare us?" he asked Dr. Chen during one of her visits to the prison. "Because we're not you," she replied. "You wanted to destroy everyone who wouldn't submit. We just wanted to be left alone." "But you destroyed our entire civilization," Kextar protested. "You forced us to," Dr. Chen said. "Every world we burned, every city we destroyed, every life we took was because you wouldn't accept that some species refused to kneel." As the first year after the war ended, President Rodriguez visited a memorial on Earth dedicated to all who had died in the conflict. The memorial had 2 sections. One listed the names of humans who had given their lives for freedom. The other, much larger section, listed the Zephyrian worlds that had been destroyed. An old man approached her as she stood reading the names. She recognized him as Captain Morrison, though he looked much older than his years. "Madam President," he said respectfully, "I wanted to thank you for what you did." "Thank me?" she replied. "Jake, billions of people died because of the choices I made." "Billions of people lived because of those choices," he corrected her. "My grandchildren will grow up free because you had the courage to fight when fighting seemed impossible." A young girl ran up to them chasing a ball that had rolled near the memorial. She stopped when she saw the serious adults and looked up at Captain Morrison with curious eyes. "Why are there so many names on the wall?" she asked innocently. Morrison knelt, down to her level, "Because some people tried to make us slaves, little one, and we had to show them that humans will never kneel to anyone." "Did we win?" the girl asked. "Yes," Morrison replied. "We won, and because we won, you get to grow up free." The girl nodded, as if this made perfect sense, and ran off after her ball. Morrison stood up and looked at President Rodriguez. "That's why it was worth it," he said. "So children like her can ask questions without fear, play without permission, and dream of futures we can't even imagine." President Rodriguez nodded, understanding what he meant. The war had been terrible. The cost had been almost unbearable. But the alternative would have been worse. A galaxy where freedom was just a memory, where entire species lived on their knees, where children were born into slavery and died without ever knowing what it meant to choose their own path. Years passed. The Terran Federation grew strong, but not through conquest. Species joined because they wanted to, not because they were forced to. Trade flourished. Art and science bloomed. The galaxy slowly healed from the wounds of the war. And throughout known space, whenever young beings learned about